All right, welcome to Yin Yoga. Let's make sure we have, let's have some gear handy. I've got a strap here, blanket, bolster, and blocks. And I think we're going to come into the low back and hips tonight. I'm going to be focusing on several pigeon poses. So I'm going to recommend we'll start with something underneath the hips, like a bolster or a folded blanket or a cushion. So once you're on your back, bend the knees, stand the feet on the mat, lift the hips, and pull the bolster, blanket. You could technically use a block, although that might get a little uncomfortable, so that the hips are elevated. And it's important that the head is not elevated. So if you've got a blanket under the head, make sure it's not folded too thickly. We want the neck to align with the hips. So you don't want that back of the neck elongated or curved, creating tension on the neck. So we're going to come into the hips and low back, firstly by bending the left knee and straightening the right leg. And because the hips are elevated, this is going to come into the hip flexor on the right leg. Curl the toes back. And let's take some time here to acclimate, to sink in. Find a steady, even pace with the breath. So if you're breathing shallowly, slow the breath down and breathe a little more deeply. So we want to breathe slower, deeper, and even gentler. Be unhurried with the breath. Now slide the right hand down to the left foot and pull the left foot in. So our first pigeon pose is going to be on the back with the hips elevated. So you're pulling, squeezing the knee towards your left shoulder and the foot towards your rib cage. Can you play around with the strength of your squeeze? Every now and then squeeze with a little more vigor and just notice how that feels. If it's taking you to more release of tension, keep squeezing. And if it's not, relax a little bit and see if that helps. Bend the right knee and push the right knee against your left foot. So now you have the right knee assisting the squeeze of that left leg. And the knee is pushing in such a way that it gives a slightly different directionality. So there'll be a slightly different sensation here. Now continue this knee press with the squeeze If it's available to you, take your left hand through the figure four and reach for your right shin. Left hand is going to grab and interlace the fingers around the right shin and squeeze it in. If that's not available to you, take a strap, bring the strap around the right shin, and have your hands hold each end of the strap so that you can pull the strap or the hands against the shin, which pulls the knee in a little more, creating a different type of pigeon. Now let's practice that slow, rhythmic breathing again. Breathing in through the nose. Letting go of any tension. Exhale, release the right foot, right shin. Let the right foot come back to the floor. Keep the figure four for a few more breaths. Release the left leg. Extend both legs out. And reach the arms over the head. Now you don't really have to do a lot of stretching here because the stretching is already happening because the hips are elevated. The front of the body stretches simply by reaching the arms over the head. Bring your attention into the leg and hip you just worked with, and notice if it feels different from how it felt before, and different from the other hip. Pick up the right knee and squeeze the right knee towards the rib cage, towards the right shoulder. Push out through the left leg, through the heel bone, toes curled back on the left leg. Now, if for any reason being up on the bolster or the blanket with the hips elevated, if this is too much, you can do this entire sequence without the hips elevated. Let's slide the left hand down to grab the foot. So we're using the arm strength to bring pigeon into the chest. So one of the safest ways to do pigeon is on the back. Some people who have knee issues find pigeon challenging on the front body, which we'll also feel later on. Now let's bring that left knee up and push into the right foot. So now you've got help from the left leg to push the figure four more deeply towards the ribs. The arms are not needed to do quite as much work. But the sensation should be a little more alive in that right hip, right leg. I find this a good opportunity to massage the toes on that right foot with the left hand. Get some circulation down to those toes. Keeping the pressure on with that left knee, pushing the foot in towards the ribs. Now this is where we take the hand through the figure four, the right hand, and reach for the left hand over that shin, that left shin. So you're pulling back on the left shin. Now, you could use the strap here. Let's say your hands don't quite reach the left shin. Strap around the left shin. Your right hand still goes through the figure four and holds one end of the strap. And the left hand grabs the other end. And then you can pull back on the strap, which pulls the knee into the foot and the foot into the ribs, keeping plenty of sensation in this supine pigeon. Now the emphasis of this release is in the thighs and hips. There's a little bit in the low back, and it's amplified in the low back by being on the bolster. How's the breath going? Let's bring the attention back to the breath. The more I go into yoga, the more I feel the yoga is, the goal of yoga is to come back to the breath. It sounds simplistic, but the more I practice the yoga, the more I realize there's a big correlation between the shape you create and the way you breathe. Now let's release the left foot. Hold the figure four for a while, resting the left foot on the ground and the right ankle against the left knee. Gently extend both legs. Extend the arms over the head. And come into a full body stretch. This next shape hopefully comes into the low back a little more. Pick up both knees. Bend both knees and grab both knees. Keep the knees out to the sides of the rib cage so the belly snuggles between the thighs, and start to pull the knees back towards the shoulders. Now this may help your low back a little more. I want some of you to reach the hands inside the knees and reach for your feet. Hook your hands around the feet and then start to open the knees to 90 degrees into happy baby. So the bottoms of the feet are going to face the ceiling as best as you can. The knees are bent. Now at the same time you're pulling down on the feet, I want you to start to pull the feet back a little more so this goes deeper into the low back. It is a hip opener. It's also a low back release. Check in with the amount of sensation you're feeling. If it's too overwhelming, just modify. Come back to the knee squeeze. And feel what it's like to breathe in this shape. Could you slow and deepen the breath here? Exhale, release the feet. Let the feet drift back to the floor. And bring the knees together, feet apart. Let the knees rest against each other. Now the other culprit with the low back is going to be the back of the legs. So I'm going to recommend you grab a strap here. Lift up the left foot. Put the strap over the left foot and hold the left foot into the air, heel to heaven. So you have a delicious stretch on the posterior side of the leg. So you want to feel this in the calf muscle and the hamstring. Let's straighten the right leg out and notice how that adds a little bit of something, something. And the hand's job is simply to hold pressure down on the foot, encouraging the ball of the foot, the toes to curl back, and the heel to point up. And we have this tilt of the pelvis because it's on a bolster. So this leg should be a little further towards the head than normally. If you can, take both ends of the strap into the left hand. Pick up the right knee. And now bring the right knee and the left foot back more. So you're squeezing that right knee and pulling the left foot back. So this is going to add a lot more sensation through the back of the leg, left leg, but it's also going to get into the low back a little more. And because we're in such an ideal position with the left hand pulling the left leg and the right knee being held by the right hand, we can also come into the adductor opening here. We can split the legs apart sideways. So the right hand is either pulling on the right knee or stopping it from going too far. And the left hand is controlling the degree of the left leg being opened. And push through the left heel a little more so you keep that aliveness through the left leg. Controlled, steady breath here. And And then bring that left leg up. Keep the strap over the foot. Drop the right foot to the ground. And straighten the right leg. Switch hands. Right hand now has hold of the strap. The left hand is out perpendicular to the torso, out at shoulder height, palm face down. Push down on the right hip and up with the left hip, and then bring that left leg over the body towards the right side. Keep the left hand grounded, left shoulder grounded. Push out through that left heel. And feel this variation into the low back and the glute area on the left side. Inhale, come back and release the foot. Let the foot drift back to the floor and then relax both legs. And hopefully you feel a significant difference between the left leg and the right leg right now. Let's pick up the strap for the right foot. And curl the toes back. And start steadily on this right leg, so not too much. Looking for the just right amount of sensation. Let the left leg extend out. That's it. And the left leg might even be hovering in the air. That's actually not a bad thing, because the weight of the left leg pulling down is going to help that left hip flexor open up. So give yourself time to settle into the sensations of the right leg and play with the position of the right foot. It might just be a few inches you bring it back. Notice if that's too much. You might back off, or you might stay there, or you might revisit. So you make these little adjustments. So you've got plenty of sensation in the right hamstring. This is going to play a big role in releasing the back. Transfer the strap to the right hand if you haven't already. Pick up the left knee and let's hug the left knee back. And as you do, as you pull it back, it's going to give you a little more leverage on that right leg to come back. So that keeps the hamstring honest. So you squeeze left knee, pull right leg, and that hamstring really starts to feel the love. Curl those toes back. Keep pressing through the right heel bone so you give the Achilles tendon some release here too, some stretch. Now separate the thighs, come into your adductor stretch here. So the right foot out to the right, left knee to the left, with control and delicious discomfort. Push through that right heel. Let's turn the head to the right here. Let's give that neck a little release. Push through that right heel a little more. And then release the left knee, left foot drifts back to the floor. Switch hands. So this time the left hand has the strap, right hand on the floor, left leg straightens out. Push up through the right heel, through the right hip, and bring that right leg over towards the left side. Keeping the right hand grounded. Inhale, come up. Remove the strap. Float the right foot back. Bend both knees, lift the hips and remove whatever you've been elevated on. Bring it out of the way. Knees together, feet apart. Relaxing TP pose. Notice how the low back is feeling in TP pose. Let the breath be gentle and slow, and in that gentle slowness, increase the depth of the breath. Explore taking in more air, more slowly, with each inhale. Like you're breathing in slow motion. And the breath out can be in slow motion as well. As if you're trying to extend the breath, slow the breath down to maybe 3 or 4 breaths a minute. And then bring both knees up into the air. Have the shins in the air and both hands out perpendicular to the torso at shoulder height, palms face down. And windshield wiper the hips and legs from side to side. And just notice how that feels on the low back as you twist from side to side. Now the next time you twist to the left, bring the left knee all the way down to the ground, and if it doesn't reach the ground, put a cushion or a blanket underneath it. And then take your left hand on top of the right knee and start to pull it down towards the left knee so that it increases the rotation inside the right low back, right glute. Right hand stays on the floor. And let's turn the head towards the right. Now here's an interesting shape because the breathing will want to pant. There'll be a temptation to pant in a twist. See if you can gentlify and slow down that breath. So you continue the theme of deeper breathing in the midst of challenge. Bring the head to neutral, release the hand from the knee. Lift the knees back up into the air. Come onto your back. Pause for a moment. Notice how your back feels. And then roll the knees to the right. Once again, if that right knee does not reach the ground, put something underneath it. Take the right hand onto the left knee and start to pull it towards that right knee. So you're using the strength of the arm to deepen the twist. And explore the range of motion you feel in the left glute and the left low back here. Turn the head to the left if you can. And then your attention on the breath. Turn onto your right side and curl up into a little ball, supporting your head with the right arm. Gently make your way up to all fours, facing the top of your mat. You might like to have a block at the top of the mat. Let's try a little cat and cow here, checking in on the low back. So lift the gaze, arch the low back, lift the tailbone. Exhale, tuck the tailbone, draw the navel in. Brace the belly and pull the navel back in and up. Separate the shoulder blades, round the back, drop the chin. Inhale, lift the gaze, lift the tailbone. So we're doing a very yin cat and cow. We're not moving fast here. Exhale, tuck the tailbone, round the back, drop the chin. Pull the navel in. Come to neutral and slide your right knee up to the right wrist. And swivel your right foot underneath you. So the top of your right foot is underneath the left thigh. Weight is in the hands. Curl the toes of the left foot and walk the left knee back. So So you get a stretch in that right glute that we've already stretched. Bring the toenails of that left foot down. And then gently lean to the right side. Bring your hand to the right side. So you're leaning onto your right sit bone. So we went from a pigeon beginning to deer pose beginning. So the right hip is on the ground. The right knee is on the ground. The right ankle is on the ground. Bend the back leg 45 degrees or 90 degrees, whatever that is. So the back leg is not straight. And then push your right foot up until your shin is parallel to the top of the mat. And then with grace, scoop the flesh from the right side of the belly out of the way and lean over your right thigh onto your right elbow. So your right elbow's on the ground. Your belly is pressing into your right thigh. And if you can drop your left elbow onto the ground, do so. If you can't, you could bring a block underneath the left elbow and prop it up. We're just going to hang out here for a bit. Check in on the head and neck. Can you turn the head and neck in all directions? Making sure it's not tense. And after a while, you'll start to cook the right glute. And we're releasing the right low back as we do this. Drop the chin towards the chest so you stretch out the back of the neck. And now we're all going to have different choices here. I want you to start to lengthen the arms, straighten the arms out in front of you as far as you can, and drop the head closer to the floor. So you're reaching with the arms. The more you reach, the more it stretches out the glute and the low back on the right side. You might feel a lot of sensation in the right thigh. Let the chin dangle down, the head dangle down. There's a lot of weight of the ribs on the front thigh. And see if you can use that restriction to strengthen your breathing. So you've got to breathe against that right thigh. Now walk the hands back, rest on the elbows. Make sure the left elbow is either on the mat or a block. Right elbow should be on the floor. Now lift the gaze, lift the chin. Lift the low back, the arch, the low back. Now drop the gaze, drop the chin to the chest, and try to tuck the tailbone. Stretch open the back body. So it's like we're trying to do a cat pose while we hold this variation of deer pose. Inhale the head to neutral and bring the hands back, straighten the arms. So you're back to that leaning position. And you're going to walk both hands to the left, and as you do, the right hip lifts up off the ground. So the right hip is now lifted into your traditional pigeon. Keep that left leg straight now and drop the toes of the left leg. If this is too much, I want you to come onto your back and do pigeon on the back again without the bolster. Otherwise, bring the elbows down. And some of you will be able to bring your head all the way down to the mat, or you might stack your hands or fists and rest the head on stacked hands or fists, so the elbows flare out. And this will be the most intense variation of pigeon. So if it's not happening for you today, just come onto the back and do the back variation. Lift the head, straighten the hands underneath the shoulders, curl the toes with the left foot, lift the left knee, and then slide that right leg back. Come onto your belly for a moment with both legs straight behind you, resting your forehead on stacked hands. You'll recognize this as crocodile pose. Have the feet a little wider and turn the feet outwards, Charlie Chaplin style. And just notice the contrast between the right hip, the right thigh, and the left side. Bend the right knee and twirl the right foot. Twirl the right foot in the opposite direction. And then prop yourself up onto the elbows for a moment. And if it's possible, reach back for that right foot and grab it with your right hand. Now, if you cannot reach it, see if you can lasso it with your strap. And then lay the head down again and just pull the foot back towards your glute. Just giving that right leg a little more release in through the quadricep and the hip flexor. Good. And then release the right foot once again. Bring the feet closer together, bring the hands under the shoulders, press up onto all fours. A little cat and cow here, and feel the lower back. See how it's doing. And then we're going to slide the left knee towards the left wrist. Swivel the left foot under the right thigh. Curl the toes of the right foot and walk your right knee back and back so you get that initial stretch of pigeon. Drop the toes of the right foot down and walk both hands to the left so you fall onto the left side of the body. You're on that left sit bone, left outer knee, left ankle. Take your right hand and push that left shin up towards the top of the mat so the shin is parallel to the top of the mat, and bend your back leg. All right, this is where we scoop the flesh out on the left side of the belly. Come forward onto your left elbow. And the weight of your rib cage is pressing down onto the left thigh. If you can bring the right elbow onto the floor, do so. Otherwise, bring it on top of a block or a cushion. And just hold yourself in this beginning of deer pose. Feel the left outer hip, the left thigh, the left low back. Make sure the head and neck is still released and you can turn it in all directions. And feel that nice, steady, rhythmic breathing. Even though you're breathing against the left thigh. Keep the head and neck relaxed. And this is where we're going to straighten out the arms. And straightening out the arms creates new sensation, new stretch, deeper into the glute, the low back. Coming into the full expression of deer. Once again, controlling, slowing, deepening the breath. Walk the hands back, straightening the arms. And we're going to transfer the weight now more to the right. So bring both hands to the right and lift that left hip up. Take the weight into your hands for now. And then walk your right knee back a little more if you need to. And drop the toenails down onto the mat. So now we feel that fuller expression of pigeon in that left glute, left thigh. Transfer the weight to the elbow so you come forward a little bit. Notice how that feels. Head and neck relaxed. Weight in the elbows. Slow rhythmic breathing. And for those who want to, you can flare out the elbows and rest the head on stacked hands or fists, or a block, or all the way to the mat. Inhale, lift the head, straighten the arms, hands on the mat. Curl the toes of the right foot and lift the right knee so it frees up the left knee to come back. Come onto your belly once again. Charlie Chaplin feet, crocodile. Stack the hands and rest the head on stacked hands. Bend the left knee and rotate the left foot. Rotate the opposite direction. And then prop yourself up. Look back at that left leg and see if you can grip hold of it with a strap or hand. That's it. And then lay the head down and pull the foot back. Release the foot. And then prop yourself up onto your elbows. Make sure the upper arms are close enough so that your hands can reach. Let's do a little bit of neck work here. I think drawing the infinity sign with the tip of the nose. Go slowly, but draw the biggest infinity sign you can reach with the tip of the nose. So you really feel the sensations in your neck here. Draw it back the other way. And then change the infinity sign to a figure 8. And draw it the other way. And then bring the tip of the nose to neutral. And for a final back bend, bring the elbows out a little wider. And bring the hands to the edges of your mat. So it's like you're in Sphinx pose with Charlie Chaplin elbows. Now straighten the arms carefully into your seal pose. Notice how that feels on the back. Relax the breath. Bend the elbows, bring the soles of the feet towards each other. Push up onto all fours. Let's do some cat and cow here and notice how it feels after all that back bending. Good. The next time you do cat, have the hips sink back, drop onto your elbows, bring the head down to stacked hands or stacked fists or the mat into child pose. And then inhale, come up. And find a block or a bolster to sit on and come into a comfortable kneeling or seated position, whatever feels appropriate for the end of your practice. And use the last minute or so of practice to simply practice being present. The greatest gift you can give is being present, being with what's happening right now. It's a worthy skill to practice and practice and practice. It's the greatest gift you can give another person. You bring your hands together at the chest in gratitude. Let the head bow. Namaste. Thank you, folks.